Hi, welcome to Filmaginations, a podcast about your favorite TV series and films. Every few weeks, I will cover a different one and take a deep dive into what happens on the screen and what my favorite moments are. Today's episode is about a 2018 teen romantic comedy called Love, Simon. The movie is based on a novel from 2015 written by Becky Albertalli. The film stars, among others, Jennifer Garner, Nick Robinson, and Josh Duhamel, and was directed by Greg Berlanti. The plot focuses on the life of Simon Spear, a closeted gay teenager who starts getting blackmailed by his classmates, threatening to out him to the entire school. All while he develops a crush on a schoolmate he only knows anonymously through his emails. This movie is very sweet, full of hope, and it will make you feel like everything will be okay. We have a family consisting of a pair of siblings that try to be nice to each other, and parents that like to think of themselves as cool. The mom is a therapist, and she believes no topic should be left undiscussed. And the dad makes jokes every chance he gets. The family has a nice dynamic. They are goofy with each other, but they also make mistakes. What's admirable is that they are able to talk about it and say sorry. And I truly admire the relationship Simon has with his sister. They are very sweet to each other. Simon also has a nice group of friends. On the surface, it seems that his life is perfect, right? But there is a secret he has been keeping from everybody, and more he starts feeling dizzy from holding his breath trying to hide it. The fact is, he's gay. He's known for a while, but it's getting harder and harder to pretend he's not. Would he crush the image that his friends have of him if he told them? And his parents? Deep down he knows everyone would be fine with that, but he still can't get himself to announce that. Because why does he have to do that? Why is it that straight is the default, and only non-straight people have to come out? Good question. For now, Simon explores his attraction to men outside of school, and he stares through his window at the guy working across the street. He can't help himself. At school, he probably tries not to think about other guys. He's trying to be someone else after all. I love how Dad interrupts at the worst moments. I liked the little jump Simon did when he entered the room. Typical when you're doing something that you want to hide and someone almost catches you in the act. Dad's jokes are all over the place in this movie. I think humor is important, but obviously in this scenario it made it a bit harder on Simon to open up to his parents. He didn't know if he was going to be taken seriously. All the dad jokes insinuated that Simon is straight, and it was hard for him to crush that image his parents had. Simon and his sister Nora do not want to watch the movie with sex scenes with their parents, and even though I did that many times with my mom, it still felt a bit sinister and a bit awkward. As briefly mentioned before, the parents are trying to be cool, but in reality, I understand it's uncomfortable for the kids. While picking up the movie, Simon's dad makes a comment about a guy being gay, and Simon just feels like he could never tell him. How would he react? He's so desperately trying to fit in. At the same time, there is a deep bond between him and his father. They love each other very much, and I like how honest Simon is with him when he proudly shows the anniversary present. Regardless of the good relationship Simon has with his parents, you can really tell that at the beginning he's hiding something from them. Something very important, and he's not able to fully breathe. He's worried that someone will find out. There is one kid at school that already came out, and even though some people still make comments, Ethan always has good comebacks, and from the outside it seems the comments don't affect him. Later we learn that even though Ethan is putting on a brave face, it all still affects him. It's not always easy on him. I kinda like how cringy the school principal is. He's trying so hard to be cool, to be friends with the kids. What's important is that he is there when it matters, to punish the bullies and make sure Simon feels comfortable going to school. I don't know if principals like that actually exist. Let me know what your experience with that is. I'm curious. To me, it seems they made him especially weird for the movie, exaggerated things a bit, but I might be wrong. Talking about cringy, we have Martin. He's really annoying from the get-go. They nailed his character, honestly. Pushing himself into Simon's friend group and in general into places he's not wanted in. Abby is so uncomfortable around him at the beginning, it's hard to watch Simon pushing Martin towards her. But we'll talk more about it in a second. Something happens that changes everything for Simon. Anonymous post about a closeted gay kid at school shows up out of nowhere. Suddenly, Simon is intrigued. There's someone like him? How exciting! I love how Leah just keeps talking to Simon as he's reading the post, blabbing about getting a vibe from somebody that might be gay and speculating who might have posted that info. But Simon's head is spinning and his mind is already in a different place. Simon felt intrigued and relieved. Regardless of what it is, it just feels so great to find someone who might understand us in what we are going through. Someone who feels what we feel. Someone who doesn't need an explanation as to why. So Simon messages Blue. He's overthinking and questioning whether he should do it. We can see him getting up from his laptop, wheels turning inside his head. He hesitates once more before sending the email. He introduces himself as Jacques. He's so excited the next morning when he hears an email notification. Unfortunately, it's not Blue, not yet. He keeps waiting for a response. It consumes his mind. All he can think about is checking his phone. He even goes to the bathroom to check it since he's unable to do that during class, and waiting till the end of class is too long. It's that typical excitement when you have a crush on someone and you're waiting by the phone for their response. To the point you're willing to drop everything you were doing just to talk to them. It was really well portrayed here. Of course, the actual crush develops later, but Simon is extremely curious what this other gay kid has to say. I very much enjoyed watching the quick little moments between Simon and Bram when they had no idea who the other was. It was so funny after knowing who Blue is. For example, during lunch, when Bram was trying to get Simon's attention to get some fries, while Simon was frantically refreshing his mailbox, waiting for reception to come back. Your crush is sitting across from you, but you have no idea. Even his friends are surprised why he's so on edge. And when he goes somewhere else to catch the internet, the principal takes his phone. He wants it back so much, but he needs to wait until the end of theater rehearsals. He keeps asking about the time. Again, desperation is pouring through him. Talking about the theater, I love the teacher. She's so over the performance. I love the comment, "That was a start." She's so funny throughout the whole movie. I was so happy to see that when Simon got his phone back, he had a message he was waiting for. He's so relieved. And this is the beginning of a very sweet love story. Simon opens up to Blue about the part of his identity that nobody knows about. He's gay, just like him. He's unsure why he never told anybody. Maybe he didn't want to make a big fuss out of it. He also talks about how he knew. It was a bunch of little things. Simon and Blue keep emailing each other, and the excitement of getting a reply never stops. Simon would literally stop mid-shower to see the email. I love how they read the emails out loud. It's like they are actually talking to each other, like they're dating. We can feel Simon's excitement and how he slowly starts crashing on Blue. It goes from messaging for comfort, talking to someone like him, to flirting and falling in love. Things take a turn when Simon is distracted by the principal and forgets to log out of his Gmail account on the school's computer. Unfortunately, Martin finds his emails and instead of just doing the right thing and logging him out and moving on, he decided to take pictures. He will use them to blackmail someone later. Meanwhile, we see Bram talking about liking Oreos to Simon, so Simon starts thinking Blue might be him. He will try to explore that thought during Bram's Halloween party, but we'll get back to that. While they're still sitting together, Simon gets caught looking at Bram, which was so cute. Kinda wish they both connected the dots a bit earlier. The blackmail begins and the conditions are being made. If Simon helps Martin spend time with Abby and gets together with her, he won't show anyone the emails that he screenshotted. I was so angry after hearing that. Nobody should be put into such position, and Martin was a real asshole for doing that. Forcing himself into Simon and Abby's life. Simon is really down now. Additionally, Blue tells him he's not ready to reveal his identity, so that pushes Simon towards a decision to get Martin and Abby together. He can't afford to get those emails leaked. He might lose someone that is very important to him, someone he's already fallen for. So Simon decides to help Martin and they end up in Martin's room. Simon is understandably upset. He knows Abby is not going to like him, but Martin can't see it. The funny part was when Martin said, "You like dudes. Tell me, what part of me do you find the hottest?" And Simon said, "Nope, not doing this." It was really well delivered. Simon is out of his place, uncomfortable and already regretting his decision. Martin points out that he doesn't want to change for Abby. He wants her to like him for him. But she doesn't, and he is unable to accept that until he gets flat out rejected. In his effort to get Martin included, Simon invites him to Bram's party. As expected, when Martin joins the team for the party, he makes everyone uncomfortable and he doesn't fit in with the group. He's the guy that everyone is trying to avoid because he's so pushy. He tries so hard to barge his way into the conversation and blames Simon that Abby is more interested in talking to Nick. How is that his fault? It's sad that he wants attention from people who don't care about him instead of finding people that would appreciate him. Another messy part about the whole situation is that Simon thinks Leah likes Nick. But in reality, Nick is into Abby and Leah is into Simon. It hurts to see Leah hiding her feelings. Simon is a really great friend. He always makes sure she knows just how cool she is to him. But instead of being glad to hear it, she is just getting hurt. Hearing that and knowing he probably doesn't mean it the way she wants him to. She will eventually admit her feelings to Simon, but that comes a bit later. The party is a bit chaotic. Simon decides to drink even though he never does. It's partially because of Martin, and partially because of the "is Bram my crush?" Simon is trying to belong, agreeing with Nick that Abby is cute, just not his type. Everything that came out of his mouth was weird, as expected. He also does something cruel, which is blocking Nick's feelings for Abby because he needs Abby to like Martin. On the other hand, the good part about the party is the interactions Bram and Simon have. Simon is so smitten. He's even practicing how to tell Bram it's him, that he's Jack. But it all goes south when Simon sees Bram making out with a girl. He's so shocked and so hurt. When it's time to go home, Simon is drunkenly holding on to Leah, and she's desperately trying to get him home in one piece. And also make sure his parents don't know that he's drunk. But of course the parents call them right as they walk through the door, and they know right away. It's funny watching someone drunk trying so hard to appear sober and coherent. It never works. I have to say I actually love Simon's room, especially the space with his bed. I love the conversations Simon and Leah have, her being vulnerable with him and him being very sweet. However, once we know Leah has a crush on Simon and the crush is one-sided, this moment, as beautiful as it is, becomes painful to watch. Simon is a really good friend to Leah, but for her, he is no longer a friend. He is a love interest. And that hurts. What adds into it is that Simon thinks Leah likes Nick, and he thinks the conversation is about Nick, not him. He even shares that with Blue. One of my friends liked the other, and he has no idea. Simon, you nailed it. You had no idea she liked you. I like how the movie gave us a look into a scenario where straight people have to come out, because it shows us a different perspective. I also enjoyed watching Simon's fantasy about being out and proud in college. But the coming out is yet to happen, and in the meantime, letters with Blue are progressing to the point where Simon, without thinking, finishes his letter with "Love, Jacques." The panic sets in as soon as he realizes that he has nothing to worry about. Blue responds the same way, which is the cutest thing. At this point, Simon is desperately trying to find out who Blue is. He sees things that are not there, thinking that the nice waffle guy might be him. Because why not? At one point, he tells Blue he really wants to meet him in person, but Blue is not ready. As his relationship with Blue progresses, he starts thinking about coming out more often, and he manages to tell Abby when he's in the car with her. That scene is so powerful. First time saying it out loud. I love how they show their reaction can be as easy as Abby's. She didn't know, but she was also not surprised. You're gay? Okay, cool. And I actually understand the logic behind it was easier to tell Abby because I've only known her for a few months. Because she doesn't know him that well and she has no expectation of him as a person and who he is. Miraculously, Abby actually starts getting along with Martin, but now Nick is hurting. He wants to confess his feelings, but Simon is trying to stop him from doing so. He lies about Abby being attracted to Martin, both because he thinks Leah loves him and because he can't afford Martin to get mad. And now Nick proceeds to ask Leah out, and Simon has a talk with her about that. But it only hurts Leah because it shows her just how blind Simon is, and how he definitely doesn't like her back. She decides to go along with it. She's not ready to tell him the truth. But struggles with the friend group aside, I love how Abby teaches Simon to talk about hot boys. And she pushes him to talk to the Waffle House guy. However, it doesn't work out because the guy is interested in Abby. There are too many things happening in Simon's life, and he's again struggling to breathe. He probably feels the walls crashing in on him. And then Martin comes along. Simon is tired of helping him, so he tells him to go big or go home. So he does go big indeed. And that is such a difficult scene to watch. He confesses his love in front of the whole school, but Abby, as expected, doesn't like him back. Simon is playing dumb, as he doesn't know what's happening. Damage has been done. I'm just glad she was honest with him, as difficult as it was. Martin is devastated. He was not counting on being rejected like that, and he does something awful out of anger and hurt. While he was exposing Simon's emails, Simon was actually calling him and checking in on him. He wanted to make sure Martin would be okay, which was a considerate thing to do, knowing what Martin has done. Before Christmas comes and the mess begins, Simon gets an email from Blue. He will have no service for a while. And since Simon's desperate to know who Blue is, he thinks of another guy that might possibly be him. And the voice reading the email changes once again. I love that. I also love that they show a lot of Simon's fantasies. Him kissing the guy that Blue possibly is while he thinks about him during Christmas. And then very quickly the mood changes. Leah calls him and tells him that he should go online and check what was posted. Martin posted screenshots of his emails with Blue. Simon reads them while Leah is still on the phone. He's been outed, and his personal emails with Blue have been exposed. Leah wants to talk to him, of course, but he needs to be alone. He doesn't know what to do. And his sister comes to his room, tells him she reported it. He tells her it's true, and in her own sweet way, she's trying to find a solution for him. Denying being one. He gets a bit mad, but it's because of the situation, not his sister per se. He makes her cry, and it's so sad that it escalated on her, but I understand that Simon wasn't thinking straight. Simon does what's most important to him. He writes an email to Blue, telling him about the situation and that he'll find out his identity. He begs him not to freak out and disappear. The scene with him freaking out on his bed portrays what he's feeling really well. His world just collapsed. All while his family is getting ready for Christmas, unaware of what's happening to him. When he gets with his family and they're opening presents, you can see something is bothering him, and he tries to tell his family the big secrets. Nick did a great job showing just how hard it was to say it. He hesitates, and that interrupts with his ideas. And when Simon finally says it, Dad starts joking again, because this is his way of communicating with him and dealing with this. But even Simon's mom is trying to stop him. This isn't time for jokes. The dad leaves the room because, as we later learn, he blames himself for not knowing that about his son. They move on to more gifting and the situation fades, but Simon's mom is looking at him with a lot of love and appreciation. But still, it feels like the atmosphere is heavy around them and that there's still the need to talk things through. But that's not going to happen right now. Simon writes to Blue about his coming out and now finally being able to be himself. But who is he actually? Now it's time to figure it out. When it's time to go back to school, Simon's mom is trying to talk to him, as they didn't really have a chance before. But he walks out. He thinks there's something bad they want to tell him. He's not ready to hear it. And then he sees his friends after not talking to them the whole break. I was actually surprised that he did not explain anything to them before that moment. They all reached out to him, and not once he contacted them. But what's done is done. Maybe he really needed some time to himself. When he goes out to them, they talk about Martin blackmailing Simon, and Simon sabotaging Nick and Abby's potential relationship. After Nick and Abby call him out and leave, Leah tells him she's in love with him. And she tells him just how much he hurt her. I understand why Simon did what he did, but I also understand that his friends are hurt and disappointed. It's truly a messy situation, and understandably they need a bit of a break from Simon. He still has to go to school though, with his friends being angry at him and the whole school knowing he's gay and staring at him. And of course the principal is talking to him as soon as he walks through the door. Being nice, funny and cringe at the same time. Love the LGBTQ pin though. Then we arrive at the canteen, and oh how much I hate this scene where guys make fun of Ethan and Simon. It's such sickening behavior. I'm glad Simon stood up and confronted them instead of pretending it's not happening. Shows that he's not ashamed. It also looks like Garrett was ready to confront them too. He was about to get up, but then the theater teacher came in and called the boys out on the behavior. Like I said, I love her very much. The bullies will be punished. After the intense day Simon had, the last thing he needed was confrontation with Martin. But he was waiting for him near his car. I like that Martin tried to apologize to Simon. I'm glad he at least acknowledged what he did was wrong. And I like the speech Simon gives him. Martin took something very important from him. He decided for him on something that is very personal. Simon is raging. Everything has gone to shit. Later, to add to the awful situation at hand, Blue breaks off contact with Simon. He blocks him. Simon breaks down, and I can just feel his pain. He's not really talking to his family after coming out. His friends aren't talking to him. School is not a breeze, and now the person he confided in and fell in love with broke off any contact with him. And he still doesn't know who he was actually emailing. My heart breaks for him. Eventually, after the storm, comes a bit of light. Things are slowly getting better. Simon approaches his mom to finally talk about his sexuality. She was waiting for him to come to her. I like how she explains she kind of felt like he was holding his breath, like there was clearly a secret. And she admits she thought about reaching out and how her not doing so might have been a mistake. I like that they were able to have that conversation. That she told him he can exhale. He gets to be himself now. I love that for him. It was very important for him to hear that. He also had a short but crucial conversation with Leah. So happy she asked about this guy he fell in love with. It feels good being able to share things like that with your best friends. And last but not least, we have the dad talk. Simon was able to learn why his dad was so weird when he came out. He was just ashamed he never noticed. Simon was not expecting that. And how he says how he loves and he's proud of him and wouldn't change anything about him, that was beyond beautiful. The crying and the hug, just beautiful. And I'm so glad the jokes are coming back. Simon finally feels loved again, and he musters the courage to write a public post about being out and proud, and invites Blue to meet him on Friday after the play. Simon gets a much-needed hug and forgiveness from his friends, and they go to the carnival. At the end of the night, Simon gets on the Ferris wheel, and after a long wait, finally the one and only shows up. I'm not a big fan of the whole audience cheering them on thing, but it fits the movie style. I love how Simon can't believe it's Bram and how they look at each other. I love the slightly hesitant first kiss and the more confident one coming right after. They can finally be happy together. At the end, I would like to say I love how they show us Simon and Bram just casually being together and Bram becoming part of the pack. After a lot of turbulence comes peace and love. Thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed the film as much as I did and had fun remembering what happened following this episode. I will be back in a few weeks. See you then. Bye bye.